Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to Lazio Lounge. If you want a free heart checkup, just become a Lazio fan and watch a couple of games. If you're still alive, if you don't have a heart attack at the end of the game, then you're perfect. Your heart is perfect. Yesterday, it was another big test for my heart, and I'm still alive, Alasdair. So I have to presume that my heart is perfectly working. Again, I don't know where to start, Alasdair. Yesterday was an unbelievable game. Before we start, let's remind to everybody that in the last 33 years, Lazio won just twice at Milan in San Siro in a Serie A game. So yesterday was just the third time in 34 years. Incredible if you think about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said last week when we were looking ahead to this game that I thought it could be quite an open match because the two teams are quite attack-minded and quite loose when it comes to defending, but I didn't really expect it to be quite as open as that. I mean, and my wife came through while I was watching the end of it, and she was like, what's happening? Because I was getting so animated. And I said, it's like watching school children play football. There was just no structure left in the game whatsoever. It was wild. I honestly don't think at this level I've seen many games descend into that kind of complete free for all as the end of that match was. It was unbelievable. But then to finish it the way we did and get that win, that historic win, like you say, is huge and it's deserved. It would have been infuriating to come away from San Siro without 3 points last night after everything that happened. So what a relief, Vittorio, and I'm glad your heart is okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I didn't have a heart attack yesterday. I mean, when Milan scored, I was furious. I was so angry because for people who didn't watch, Lazio had one man. Milan had a red card. What was it? Beginning of the second half, and we're gonna have a referee corner later in the podcast because my God, the referee was a disaster. But you're 1-0 up. You have one man more in the pitch. Milan is playing crazy football. They had 5 strikers at a certain point. You should have been, scoring hundreds of goals on the counter-attack, and we missed so many chances. And then, what was it? 85 minutes, they find the goal. Come on. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. So it was really hard. And scoring the penalty at the last second, my God, I couldn't watch it. Really, I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, but it was coming though, that Milan equalizer. That's kind of what was so infuriating about that ending of the game to me. I mean, I think in general, we have to say great result and great performance. And the way that Lazio did play most of this game was really encouraging. But honestly, I thought Baroni got it wrong, and I thought the team lost their heads once they were a man up. After the Pavlovic red card that I felt the problems almost started because Conceição lost the plot and just starts throwing on all his strikers like a child playing FIFA. And, I don't think I've ever seen a team play like a 2-1-6 formation before. But Lazio, all you need in that situation really is a level of composure and control. And if you're the team with 11 men and a structure and an idea, you will always expose a team who are doing that because that is not a serious game plan. But they got drawn into it, I think. The fact that they were still sitting so deep because they'd spent so much of that match trying to soak up attacks and counter, they were continuing to do the same thing. And I was kind of screaming at the TV, like, you need to take control now. You can't be soaking it up now because they've got every striker in Italy is on the pitch at the moment. And if you just allow them to do that, sooner or later, something will happen. I mean, the Chukwueze header wasn't exactly what I was expecting. And another ball to the back post goal conceded. Thanks, Lazio. But, I felt that they just needed to seize control better. And thankfully, once the equalizer went in, they started to respond. And we got there in the end. But wow, it was a bit of a roller coaster.
Alasdair, I think one of the problem, and we have to talk about this now, Tadi Castellano is injured. He's going to be back end of March, probably. Against Venezia, Noslin was the number 9. He played in that position. We didn't talk about the Coppa Italia game, but both in the Coppa Italia game and yesterday, Baroni played Chauna as number 9. Now, in the Coppa Italia game, Chauna was pretty much invisible. Yesterday, a little bit better, but I think one of the reasons why we didn't finish the game earlier was because we were playing 10 men pretty much. Chauna was invisible. And I know people will say, well, the goal, the Zaccagni goal, Chauna helped, even though the pass to Marusic was so slow that we nearly lost it there. I wasn't convinced by Baroni's decision, and this is a big problem because without a number 9, Lazio struggle a lot. And that's probably one of the reasons. But when he took off Chauna and played Dia there, things didn't go better, right? Probably even worse. Dia wasted a chance after 2 minutes that, my God, that could have changed the game again. But we are having a big problem there, the number 9, without Tati Castellanos.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I was texting a friend of mine about it last night. It kind of baffles everyone, this insistence on Chauna being the answer, especially because he's naturally more of a winger, but he's even been struggling in his native position, let alone trying to then force him into a new one. The only answer I think I've got as to why he's insisting on it is that I think he just wants to have someone to try and do what Tati does, rather than having your next best or your next most natural number 9, more having a player in there who you feel can try and replicate that kind of work rates that Tati provides, the link up, the physicality, the running. And I can see why you would land on Chauna as being a guy who might be able to do that kind of work, the hard, dirty work of the striker. Obviously, Tati's been chipping in with a good amount of goals this season. I'm not saying that's all he does, but he does do that part of the job very well. And I don't think Dia necessarily does do that kind of thing. I don't think Noslin does do that kind of thing. So I wouldn't say it's worked, but that's the only reason I can think of why he keeps choosing him, because it can seem a little bit bizarre.
Yeah, but you spend 90 million euros on Noslin, and he's already not only on the bench, but he's not even the second choice there. He's now the third choice. And Chauna in Coppa Italia was dreadful. So I was surprised to see him starting again there. And I don't know. Does this tell you that Noslin is going to leave this summer?
Probably. I mean, as I say, time and time again, I always believe players deserve second seasons. But how many chances can he get, I guess? And it does worry me that this should be his moment, and he's not being leaned on at all. And not just that he's not being leaned on for, to elevate Dia, who's had a great season ahead of him, and put Pedro as a 10. If you're basing it all on form, you would say that's the way to go about this. Zaccagni and Isaacson are untouchable. So then play Pedro as the 10, which he's done a lot this season, and play Dia up front. And those two have been the next best players in form in the team this season. But rather than doing that, he's looking for another option, like I say. And that's the most worrying thing for Noslin, is that even when he's got this chance, where Baroni's not necessarily just picking on form, he's still not being looked at. It's tricky. I mean, it's also, this whole thing has shone a light on how, kind of after years of being talking about Ciro dependence and all this stuff, now we're hearing this phrase of Tati dependence starting to appear. And this is the first game we've won this season without him.
Yeah.
Other than the Coppa Italia game where he was left on the bench. But beyond that, I think there's
it's the first one.
6 matches, and some horrible results in that time, including the 6-0 against Inter and so on. But it's funny how things have changed for Tati, how he's gone from being almost a laughing stock last year to this player who is seen as absolutely crucial.
You talk about giving a second season. What about the second season of Gustav Isaksen? For me, yesterday, man of the match. I really don't agree with Serie A. They're giving this award no sense at all. I mean, Zaccagni played well. Not, don't get me wrong, but Isaksen was by far the man of the game. The penalty, the red card, he did everything pretty much. He just didn't score.
Yeah, brilliant. And that, that's exactly why I have this take, because it can take certain players. He's a great example, actually, because he was a player who you felt needed to come out of his shell a bit, grow in confidence, work out the league after coming from Denmark, all of this stuff. And yeah, the form he's hit, and obviously even the start of the season, he wasn't in this kind of form. It's only been the last few months, but it's been superb. And yeah, I agree. I think from the down the wings now, Lazio are such a threat. I thought on top of that, Vittorio, that it was great to see Nuno. The old Nuno has been kind of back in the last couple of games. I think he's looked okay defensively. Yes, we'll still have a lot of questions, including the goal. But in terms of that attacking threat that he poses, how many sprints did he make up the left wing? I was amazed how he was still doing it in the 90th minute yesterday. And we were saying in the last podcast, at least I was, that you can accept the defensive lapses as long as he's doing that, and so at least he seems to be doing that again. And I just felt bad for Maricic while we're talking about the wings, because I thought he looked like he was having a really good start to this game and crucial in scoring that opening goal. And again, coming down the right flank, Chauna did well actually in that goal. So I don't know if this is a way for us to now kind of me to knock you slightly into the refereeing, but Marisic's game ended sooner than it should have because he got taken out. And
was it a red card? Was really, really close if it wasn't, right?
Well, this is the thing. I don't really know where the laws stand on that, because it's clearly unintentional, but it is probably dangerous.
How many penalties did we see given against Lazio, even if it was unintentional? How many red cards? I mean, come on. This cannot happen every time against... And now, I know people will say, the red card of Pavlovic wasn't a red card, which is embarrassing. But yesterday, the ref was embarrassing. We didn't talk about the challenge on Dia in the first half. That was a red card, direct, right? The one of, who was it? Not Fofana, the other guy. How it's called?
Musa. I can't really make my mind up on that one, because at one angle it looks like he gets the ball, one angle it looks like he gets the foot.
But it's the same of Romagnoli against Juventus, right?
Yeah, I think that and essentially the point you're making there is the key one, is that what frustrates people is the inconsistencies around decision making. But this was a funny game because Lazio fans came away from it thinking, oh my God, the refereeing. And then you look at social media and Milan fans are all coming away from it going, oh my God, the refereeing. So you always kind of see it through your own lens. But certainly I felt that by the time Pavlovic was sent off, it was about time a Milan player was sent off for one reason or another. Because even beyond that, you had Santi Jimenez was on a yellow, and then he goes and just like throws his elbow into the back of, was it Gigot? I can't remember, at the corner. And
Rovella, I think, maybe.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff going on in the game that made me then think, with the Pavlovic one, he's very late. It was very cynical. He's very late. Was it a red? I can see why people argue that both ways, but certainly by the time that tackle flew in, you felt, okay, you got to send someone off now, don't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before we go forward, before I forget, we have an exclusive images of Sergio Conceição after the game. Okay, I had to, guys. I'm sorry, I had to.
if anyone's listening to the audio version of this, you need to go on YouTube to see Vittorio's
Absolutely.
joke in its full glory. Well done,
Absolutely.
Vittorio.
I mean, Sergio Conceição, always a place in my heart. Can we blame him for Milan losing the game? No, I don't think so. Even though he reminded me a little bit of the first Simone Inzaghi, right? When Lazio was losing game, he was putting center forward on the pitch. Simply, Lazio didn't have five on the bench like Milan had yesterday. Otherwise, it would have been the same thing.
I don't know. I felt he lost control of that completely. I don't know why João Felix was brought on in the first half. I mean, obviously, Moussa, as he discussed, was lucky to get away with one. But, Milan fans are unhappy about Felix because the team kind of doesn't know what else to do apart from just pass the ball to him. They don't have any structure, really. That team is so unbalanced, and they just rely on individual talent to do something, and they don't really seem to have any idea how to go about it. So, and then, like I say, the idea of just chucking all your strikers on is, I mean, okay, it did work, I guess, because they did eventually get a goal back. But then again, they also conceded the penalty because of the fact that they just had no structure left in order to defend against Lazio's counters. So I think Conceição didn't have a great...
We talk about strikers, but shall we talk about goalkeeper? I mean, Provedel started yesterday after being benched both on Venezia's game and Coppa Italia against Inter. That was a surprise for me, and I was a little bit concerned to see how Provedel would react to these two games where he was benched. Didn't do anything amazing, but he did a couple of good saves, especially in the second half. There was a cross from the right where he anticipated, don't remember if it was Jimenez or Joao Felix.
Yeah.
So it was a good performance from Provedel. And again, Baroni made the right decision, but I was really scared about that because you never know how he could react after two games on the bench.
I wasn't surprised Provedel started just because Baroni has kept saying the whole time that Provedel still is number one, his starting keeper. But maybe it is just good management. We discussed Mandas in the last couple of weeks, and obviously against Venezia, he came up big. But it could just be good management because it's kind of, sparked a bit of a response from Provedel, who I've said all season it's not that he's been making howlers every week. It's just that he's not really been making game-changing saves at all. Whereas, I felt like he did deliver a bit of security. He was frustrated in his interview after the game that he didn't get the clean sheet, and you can see why, because it was an opportunity to get one. They're getting rarer and rarer, these clean sheets. But no, I thought that generally the defensive performance was good. I thought the Gigot and Gila had a great game together, and actually that's really encouraging considering Romagnoli has been the defensive leader so far this season, and he was missing. I just love Samuel Gigot so much. That guy, so committed, almost scored on that counter-attack where I saw the shot before I saw who'd taken it, and then the replay came in. I was like, wait, hang on a second. Is that Gigot on his left foot?
Yeah, in the penalty box of Milan. That was, and we immediately got a counter-attack. So I was, what the hell are you doing there? But one thing nobody points out is that Lazio had so many players missing. I mean, we talked about 10 minutes about Tati Castellanos, but we didn't have Dele Bashiru. Patrick wasn't 100% fit. We didn't have Romagnoli. We didn't have, Isai as well. So we didn't have a lot of players available. And even though we deserved to win, we played a good game. Gigot was the third start in Serie A. I thought he had a good game. Obviously, Jimenez, who usually score against us, had a quiet game, which was good. I thought Gigot had a good impact. And Patrick came in, was encouraging to see him playing that well after, 2 months he didn't play. But let's not forget, Marusic was subbed. Lazzari had to come in. And, I was a little bit concerned seeing Lazzari defending on Leao's side. Uh, but Isaacsen defended so well that helped massively Lazzari. So it wasn't that we had a full squad available for this game. We had many players missing, and that's another positive sign, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I thought there were big performances all over the park. Like I said at the start, although there was that period where I was frustrated with the approach, I think generally this performance was really good. Not, as you mentioned, not a place we go and win very often. I thought Guendouzi as well deserves a shout out because the work he put in, especially defensively, but actually his passing as well, it was so impressive. And when we were really under pressure, he just seemed to be everywhere, like popping up in the box to just get in the way of everything and relieve a bit of pressure in that period when we were sitting far too deep. So another good game from him. I mean, how, like, big picture wise, how important do you think this was for the season? Because we haven't spoken about the Inter game yet last week, but I think especially coming off, back-to-back San Siro games, but the Inter one, a case of like a pretty good performance with a bad result. And again, the familiar themes of we're not getting results against big teams and we're not scoring goals against big teams. And I think if things had gone wrong on Sunday, those questions would only just accelerate even further. So how big do you think this is kind of for the season?
Well, it's really important because now, as we are recording this podcast, Juventus still has to play, but pretty much all our competitors have won this weekend. So we needed to win. And let's be honest, probably was the best time to play against AC Milan this season.
Yeah.
They are really struggling. So, and we were close to not winning this game, which is incredible. It would have been incredible, right? So massive win, even because, as we said at the beginning, this is the first win in Serie A without Tati Castellano. This is the first game we scored 2 goals without Tati. Yes, Milan is not playing great football, but they're still a very good team, and we dominated the game pretty much. 21 shot. That's an incredible number, and we score only 2 goals. This is probably the sum of the game. Unfortunately, we had to win because we're not clear of the Champions League. But if we didn't win yesterday, I don't want to say it would have been pretty much over, but it would have been very difficult to be there. Now, Juventus has an easy game. They're struggling as well, but I don't think they're going to lose tonight. So I don't know. It was really important for us. I think not only winning, but playing that well, because you can win thanks to a mistake from the opponent, etc. Winning like this, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, and I think particularly important to build a bit of confidence that they can win these games, because by now you would understand if some players would, in the back of their mind, feel like, well, what are we doing wrong? Especially that Inter game where it was just the Arnautovic volley, which obviously created a huge controversy about whether it should have been disallowed, and it should have, because the explanation they came out with, Vittorio, I'm amazed that you haven't opened the podcast with steam coming out of your ears talking about that. To suggest that it was unsavable is absolutely crazy. I mean, when does that ever come into it anyway? And yes, the reason it was unsavable is that Mandas is having to step in the wrong direction in order to see the ball in the first place that's why it's unsavable. So anyway, beautiful finish, obviously, from Arnautovic, but the whole thing there was crazy. And that was a frustrating one. So yeah, I think it's a big result for the season in many ways. Like you say, great time to play Milan. The atmosphere in the stadium seemed absolutely horrendous for them yesterday, which helped. They're dressed up in these absolutely ridiculous kits, which probably helped too.
My God.
Must have made everyone even angrier. So yeah, I think I didn't want to say that in the last podcast, because you always tell me off if I say it's a great time to play a team. But it was. But we have to talk about Europe as well, Vittorio, because with those two results in the bag, we've got Viktoria Plzen now on Thursday, first leg of the Europa League last 16. Is a huge chance. This European draw we've got, um, it's going to be hard to balance all this, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, now the biggest problem I think, Alasdair, is we ran a lot yesterday. I mean, Baroni mentioned it. In the first half, we run a lot, we created a lot of chances, and this is maybe the reason why in the second half we struggle a little bit. So we need to recover energy before Thursday. We don't know how many players will be back because you mentioned Romagnoli, Delebashiro shouldn't be back. We have a lot of question marks there. Let's not forget that Belayan and all the new signing are out of the squad. By the way, Proskat was warming up yesterday when Giroud was leaving the pitch, so there could have been an opportunity for the Danish player. So, it will be very important to see if we recover energy. Getting back Vecino is really important for those games. The problem is this season we're playing great in Europa League. In the past, we never did. So next Thursday, are we going to see the old Lazio in Europe or the new one playing at its best? And, we didn't talk about Pedro, but he was fundamental yesterday. And he has been fundamental in this Europe League season. He could be, starting on Thursday, and he could be the game changer, the one that give us. I mean, if you win there, it's going to be fundamental. It's going to be really important,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, away goals don't come into it anymore, but taking a result back home is a huge thing for the second leg. And Lazio, like you mentioned, have had some great results in Europe and away from home in Europe as well so far. So they should have no fear. I mean, from what I've seen around Pilsen, they are a team who don't bother with having much possession. So I think we can expect to be the ones dictating this game and having a lot more of the ball. But they want it that way. We can't allow ourselves to get fooled into thinking that we're dominating, because I think even in the Czech league, they're quite low possession wise, and they like to be well structured and hit on the break. And that's something Lazio need to be really careful about, because they play this kind of 3-5-2, and it reminds me a little bit of thinking about how Roma play, and the problems we had against that in January particularly. So they're going to have to be really smart and manage this game well, not leave themselves too exposed. Don't be too gung-ho. I know Baroni likes his team to attack. He likes the wing-backs to fly down at every opportunity, but they're going to have to be really smart, because let's not forget, even a draw is not a bad result to take. We don't need to win this game in the Czech Republic. We can take a draw back to Rome and finish it off next week. You just got to keep yourself in the tie, don't you? And I think it's going to be a tricky one, like you say, after 2 away games in a row and then an away European trip, and all the physical effort that's gone into these matches.
Yeah, it's incredible to think the schedule has been terrible for us. This is the 4th away game in a row, which is, I mean, I don't remember last time that this happened. We have the 2 Serie A game, the Coppa Italia game away, and the Europa League game away. So it's incredible. I forgot where the Stadio Olimpico is. So, but you're right. We don't have to try to finish the game. Obviously, it will be better if we win 3-0 away. But the most important thing is not lose that game. And remember, we have the second leg at home, and with the fan support, we can really close it there. But again, I hope we recover the energy for that game, because it's important. And let's not forget that Lazio Udinese will be on Monday, so we have to take time to recover for the Udinese game. which again, it's really important. We need to win to keep it up in the Europa League. But Alasdair, before we wrap it up, we have to say something about Pedro. I mean, I don't know you guys. I struggled to watch the penalty. I have to be honest. When I saw Pedro taking it, I thought I was confident. It hasn't been a long time that I was so confident on a penalty because Pedro gave me, a lot of confidence. But still, last second penalty for Lazio, I was a little bit like Patrick. I'm not watching it. I just want to hear the other players celebrating, and then I'm gonna see. What a player, Pedro.
Yeah, it makes a difference to have someone who has just been there and done it. That's where you see it, that what that kind of experience brings, because he's in a hostile San Siro in front of this furious crowd, and he's just not bothered. As soon as that penalty is awarded, he's there with the ball. And, all the Milan players are trying to distract him. They're standing on the penalty spot. Mike Mignon is standing right in front of him. All the tricks that everyone always tries to use in these situations. And he's standing there with a smile on his face. He's not bothered about it. So, yeah, absolutely. What an asset to have a guy who's not, affected by pressure in that way. If you've won the World Cup and the Champions League, I guess, silencing some Milan fans is not a huge ask. So, yeah, brilliant. And what a season he's having. It just continues. I think it'll be so useful to be able to rely on him in Europe, like you say. I just hope Romagnoli, Marasic, obviously there's some doubts around their fitness coming into this. We'll have to wait and see. Thankfully, it sounds like from what Baroni said, that Marasic isn't too bad.
Yeah, I mean, he got the stamp of the boots of I don't remember which Milan player on his knee, so that hurts. That really hurts.
Yeah, he's got a tattoo now, probably, of Theo Hernandez's boot.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see what happens. It would be so exciting to have a European run. I mean, I'm already excited just about the prospect of it.
You're too ahead of yourself. Remember, there's the away game. Alasdair, I think we can wrap it up here. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks in particular to our Patreon. Remember, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Membership starts at $2 a month. We have this live chat going on, and every month an exclusive video just for you. So if you like what we're doing, if you want to support us, you know where to go. And we'll be back after Viktoria Plzen Lazio. I don't know, Alasdair, you have something else to add?
Just that we've had a couple of new Patreon members sign up. So we should give a shout out to Tim Rydell and Alex DiLello, who both signed up last week. So thank you to them for joining in.
Okay.
We always try and shout out to everyone.
Yeah, if we can, yes. So guys, take care, and we'll be back after Viktoria Plzen Lazio. Forza Lazio, guys.
Cheers.